Hi everybody, my name is Anthony and I'm one of the studio librarians here at the Sachem Public Library. Today we're going to do a quick video on building your Scarecrow. If you've signed up for the class through the Children's Department, we're going to work it out so you guys receive your kit, and your kit is going to have all the components that I have laid out here in front of me. So starting from over here, we have a couple of cornstalk pieces. You can use these for your legs, your arms, fingers, anything you want to use them for. The next piece over here, this is going to be the frame of our Scarecrow. You're going to get 2 pieces of wood that are pre-cut and pre-drilled, so you guys don't have to worry about doing anything like that, and they'll screw together nice and easy. You'll get a couple of screws to screw it all together. The next piece is over here. This is a piece of burlap about 2 feet by 2 feet that you're going to use to fill with hay, and we're going to tie it up, and that's what's going to make your head. And then over here, to fill out all the Scarecrow, we're going to have a whole bunch of hay for you guys inside of your kit. Some of the things that won't be in your kit is a screwdriver, so you just need a simple screwdriver to put some of these screws in there, and you may want to include some extra twine and zip ties and things like that to help kind of shape and tie up your Scarecrow. The first thing we're going to start with to build your frame, we're going to put everything else aside, and we're going to grab the 2 pieces of wood, the 4 screws, and you guys are going to grab a screwdriver. So we're going to take the screwdriver and the screw, and we're going to take the smaller piece. Now this smaller piece has all been pre-drilled for you, so that way the screws go in a little bit easier and you have much less of a chance of cracking the wood putting it together. So to get started, I'm just going to start the screw in one of the holes until it starts popping out the back. Just be careful because it is pointy when it starts popping out the back. I'm just going to keep going until it's popping out a little bit, and I'm doing this to help me line up with the other piece that is still on the ground. So I'm going to try to line up that screw with the screw hole, and then once I got it in there, I could put it back flat and I could screw the rest down. So it's going to help you align everything so the other screw holes are close. Okay. Just want to keep going until it's nice and stuck down. And then just look back a little bit and just make sure it's as close to straight as you can get it. Then you can grab another screw, go to the opposite corner, and screw it in. Now you can use a power drill if you have one available, but I wouldn't recommend it because if you go too far and too fast, you may crack this light wood. And once you got that in there, you're just going to go ahead and do the other 2 screws. Okay, and one more. Just going to put my knee on it to keep it stable. Okay, now we have a basic frame all screwed together. I have one solid piece, and now we can go start adding some of the other pieces and working on other parts of the Scarecrow. Alright, we're going to put the frame aside for a second, and now we're going to focus on making the Scarecrow's head. The piece we supplied is about 2 feet by 2 feet. If you wanted to make yours smaller or a different shape, you can try to cut it down a little bit and make your own custom design. That's completely up to you. But what we're going to do is try to create a basic head shape with this 2 foot by 2 foot piece. So what we're going to do is grab a little bit of the hay and put it in the middle. Now don't start with too much. Just put a little bit in there and see if you can fold up the hay. You want to try to get as much as you can kind of crumpled up to the middle. So I didn't put enough yet, so I'm going to go in and add a little more, and I'm going to add a little bit at a time to make sure I can pull as much of the sides and the back in as possible. Maybe a tiny bit more. Okay, so I'm going to try and fold as much as I can into the center. Now, one of the easiest things to use, if you have them available, is safety pins, safety clips. That'll keep this all bound up in the back really tight, and you could put a couple on the back and as you go. Right now, I'm going to use the piece of string we supplied with the kit, kind of bunch it all up, and kind of tie it in the back. So And give it a little twist. And try to tie it off. Now, it's not too easy with one pair of hands, so if you have someone to help you, it makes a big difference. So all the extra, I'm just kind of wrap, tie, and pull. And if there's any really loose spots that I could pull back in, I'm going to try to pull them in and tie it. Okay, now I will hold this up in a second, but as I was tying this all off, I made sure there was a little area of the back that was kind of left open, just a tiny bit, and that's going to make it easier to kind of put on your frame. So, just as an example, we grab the frame real quick. Okay. If we turn it back over, we can kind of massage it back into a regular head shape, and if you leave the hole in the back, you'll be able to slide it on and all the way down nice and easy. All right, so that's it for the head for now. So we're going to put that aside, and we'll come back to it in a little while. All right, so the next part, we're going to grab our frame, and we're going to use whatever we're going to use for pants for the Scarecrow. So in this case, I'm going to use a pair of jeans. You could use sweatpants. You could use really anything you want. The only thing you do have to do is cut a hole right in the back. So you can use a knife or a scissor or anything like that. Just be careful doing that. We're going to cut the hole so we can actually run it through the post right here. So I'll show you guys what I'm doing with that. So this is just meant so this can slide right over. And I'm going to kind of get the bottom of the pants even with the bottom of the stand. Alright, so if that's basically where we want them, but the only problem with this is if you go to stuff hay in it, or if you try to stand them up and stuff hay in it, the pants, they're going to fall right down. So we're going to have to do something to keep it up while we're stuffing it and while the Scarecrow is standing up. So usually what I do with that, and that's why we're doing the pants before the shirt, you're going to use one of the included pieces of twine, or you can grab any sort of wire, anything like that that you may have lying around to do this next part. Ooh, seems I grabbed a couple of strands. And all I'm going to do is make a simple set of suspenders for the Scarecrow. So I'm going to do one in the front and one in the back, and I'm not doing anything crazy because you're really not going to see too much of this part. And even if it hangs below the shirt, it's really not that noticeable. So you're going to loop it over the top of the arms, go underneath, come back over the top, and you can come back to the other side. And kind of made my piece a little long, so I'm going to cut it a little shorter and go through one of the other belt buckles. Now if what you're using doesn't have belt buckles, it's fine. Just pop another hole towards the top of whatever you're using and do it that way. Alright, so just as an example, if I stand him up, right now he's hanging because he's got no hay in there, but I did one in the front and now I'm going to do one in the back so it kind of hangs even. Spread it back out. I'm going to grab another piece of twine. That one might not be long enough. Grab another one. And it's the same process over again. I'm going to loop over the arms, come back around. Cut my piece to length and tie it off to the belt buckle. If you don't like it, you can always come back and adjust it later. It's just a lot easier to do when you have to stuff it when it's already got something for you kind of to push against. So for now we just have a basic Scarecrow and we have his pants hanging off. So the next step, we're actually going to go into stuffing them with hay. Alright, so now that we have this all tied up, we are going to tie up a couple more things. We're going to grab some small pieces of string. You could also use zip ties or anything you want to kind of close off the bottom of your Scarecrow. Now I'm not going to do it in my example, but if you wanted to add anything like little sticks or some of the cornstalk pieces we gave you, you can kind of shove those in and then tie around it. So those pieces will be hanging out, but it cinches the bottom of the pants. And just give it a couple of knots. And the reason we're going to do this is so when we stuff the hay in from the top, it doesn't just come right out the bottom. Oh, it's going to be a little too short. Okay. Alright, so now we got those tied off. Push this over here. I have some of the hay from the kit in here. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to start stuffing the Scarecrow. Now, if for any reason someone had allergies or you didn't want to use the hay or anything like that, you can use plastic bags or any sort of stuffing like that. Just make sure whatever stuffing you use will hold up to getting wet, because these will be outside. So, like I said, this is a bit of a mess. So I'll do it in an area that's easy to clean up. I'm just going to grab all the scrap pieces that kind of sent flying and use those to fill it up. Okay. Now, I didn't grab quite enough to go to the top, so I'm actually just going to fill them up the rest of the way. All I'm going to do is just fill them to the top, and then we'll come back and I'll show you guys how to do the shirt. Okay, once you have the pants on there all tied up and all filled, we can move on to putting on the shirt. Now, if you're using an adult size shirt, it'll slip on pretty easily. If you're using a smaller shirt or a kid size shirt, then you may have to cut some of the holes to get it over the arms of the Scarecrow. But once you get this on there, you're going to lay it out kind of the way you want it. And then what we're going to do is kind of add some of the arms. So we're going to grab some of the cornstalk pieces. And you don't have to do this, but if you want to, it's completely up to you. You may have to break them smaller if that's the effect you're looking for. But what I'm going to do is grab an arm. I'm going to stick some of the cornstalk pieces inside. Leave them sticking out a little bit. And then I'm going to take some twine and I'm going to wrap it around the arm. And we're going to close this up just like we did on the pants, so the hay doesn't just fall out as soon as you try to tie it. So try to give it a knot once and then come around and wrap it a few times. You want to keep it nice and tight. And if you also have zip ties available, they're also great to use instead of the string too. It's a lot easier. Alright, so that's one side. You get this arm over here. I'll work on the other. And remember, this is just an example. You can do any sort of Scarecrow with short sleeves, different kind of arms, different kind of pants, anything like that. You can be as creative as you want. This just gives you a basic idea. Okay, so I tied it. I'm going to wrap it a little bit. And give it one last tie. Alright, now we got arms sticking out of there. Now, The one last thing that we're going to want to tie off is the shirt, because we're going to have the same problem of stuffing hay in there and it coming right off. So you're going to need a long piece of string for this one. Okay, so I'm going to put it there. I'm going to lift them up a little bit, kind of pull under here. Get around once, and you can kind of make it as a belt. You could also come back with decorations and kind of disguise this as a belt too. Or if you have an old belt, it's even better. So get that tight and put a couple of knots in there. And you can cut off the excess. Ooh. I'll save that for a different Scarecrow. Alright, so we have them. We're going to move them down a little bit so you can see. I'm just going to pop open one of the buttons in the shirt to make it a little bit easier to get the hay in there. And I'm going to start stuffing it in. And I wouldn't worry so much about the shape right off the bat. I would get some hay in there, push it into the arms, push it down to the bottom, and then start shaping it afterwards. And don't forget, if you have long sleeves, push it all the way down. You did all that tying off, so it shouldn't come out. Now once you get closer to the top, if you happen to be using a shirt like this, you start to button it up. I'm just going to push some of it around and get a basic shape. Alright, so that's him basically filled. He's ready to get stood back up and put his head on. Alright, now that we have our Scarecrow almost complete, we're going to take the head that we made earlier with the burlap sack and we're going to slide it over the top. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do this, but we're going to go with this. We're going to kind of get it on there, and we're going to shape him a little bit once we get it on there. Now, you can make sure it's nice and secure. Like I said, if you have any extra pins and you want to come pin it in the back again to make sure it stays on the frame, that'd probably be a good idea. And what you could do, you can add a hat, you can add all the features to the face, and you guys can go about decorating your Scarecrow any way that you want. Alright, now that our Scarecrow is all completed, we are all done with this project. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed building your Scarecrows. If you do wind up making a Scarecrow, please feel free to take some pictures and send them along to the Sachem Library. We'd love to see your finished work and come tell us how it came out. Again, thank you guys for watching. Everybody have a good one.